Alrighty, this is the new one. Man, look at the damage on this box, will you? I mean, this thing is beat to all hell. The company I bought it from, the guy I bought it from seems like a real nice guy, and they ship directly from the manufacturer. The manufacturer hires this company called R&L Carriers to deliver it, and it's supposed to be drop off at the driveway off of a freight truck. Well, them sons of bitches called me up yesterday. No, I called them because they wouldn't call me, and I knew it was at their facility. And when it gets to their facility, you're supposed to arrange a date for pickup or for drop off. So I called them up and they said, oh, no, we don't deliver. And I said, well, no, I bought this and the agreement was to deliver curbside, you know, driveway. And they said, no, we don't do that. And then at first I said, well, just ship it, send it back to the sender, because I ain't picking it up. And then I started thinking about how much of a trouble it would be to send it back and deal with it again. So I went and pick it up. It was like a 20-minute ride to downtown, back in the boonies of New Orleans. I mean, places you don't want to go. And I went and pick it up. Took them forever to find it at the facility. Two people who came after me got service first, and then they brought this, and the guy was loading. He goes, man, that box is all beat up. You know, and I was like, no kidding, what's wrong with it? What'd you do? He goes, oh, I didn't do nothing. I'm pretty sure he must have done something. He was acting all suspicious. So I kind of looked it over. I said, well, I don't know what, I don't know. I'll have to take a look at it. And then he said, yeah, you should look it over. He goes, we already had 3 of them sent back today because people couldn't get them started. He goes, I sure hope you can get yours started. I was like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Hope I can get it started. That's retarded. It's a brand new machine. So I don't know. This is going to be very interesting, to say the least, to see what happens. But the reason I bought this thing is because of this other one was, you know, it pretty much ran as a champ during the storm. I did have one issue. The reason I got a Durostar, I wanted another Duromax, but the guy I ordered it from said they sent in a Durostar, and there's no, they said apparently there's no difference between them except for the color. I don't know, we'll find out. But I'm gonna go over and tell you some of the issues I had with this. They have what I found out. This is called ethyl mercaptan. It's an oil in propane, and you can see when I was running it, it started giving me very bad problems. I ran a bottle of propane through it, and one full bottle, and it ran fine. And I switched it over to gasoline, and it started giving me some issues. Like there was some kind of fuel starving issue. Something that was just stutters and sputtering. And then it wouldn't start. I finally got it started, and it was just sputtering. And it's kind of like, after a while, it started running better and better and better and better, and finally got better. It's like it was clearing something out of this carburetor. Well, I think it was this oil that came from the propane, and everybody's probably saying there ain't no oil in propane. Yes, there is, and I found out by looking and researching on the internet. It's called ethyl mercaptan, and it builds up in oil in propane tanks. And some reason the batch I got had a lot of it in it, because there is no other oil coming from this machine. The engine is clean, and the crankcase and everywhere on the head and all of that, that's all clean as a whistle. The oil is coming from this regulator, and I can show you. See, it's all over my fingers right there when I rub. It's on there. It's coming from there. It was actually, you could see a little drip forming, and it ran all the way down the frame to the other end. So it's a pretty pretty decent amount. I mean, I would say it's like a tablespoonful. And the only other oil on this machine is when I change the oil, I drop just a touch. But that stuff was there way before. That oil came from that regulator. You could see it on the regulator. And I even let my dad borrow some of this, not borrow, but I gave him some of the propane tanks because he was wanting to run it on propane. And I put him on propane, and after he started running some of the tanks of my propane, his started giving him problems. And he has the 13,000 E8. And finally, you know, he switched it over to gas, and it was giving him problems on that too. So finally, his has a selector switch that we bypassed for between gas and propane, which mine does not have a selector switch. The propane comes straight into the carburetor right there. So you just turn the gas off right here, the fuel, liquid fuel, turn it off right there, and you hook up your propane, turn your propane on, and it'll clear out the fuel in there and then just be running on propane like crazy. It does great. But then it started giving me problems after that oil built up, and I'm pretty sure it built up in that carburetor, and I finally had to just burn it out, I guess. But now it's running fine. I mean, she's doing good. I'll give her a crank and show you. Push that to that. Switch your low RPM. It'll down shift the low RPM on it. When it gets the load put on it, it'll crank up the RPM. Okay, so good machine. So we're gonna go ahead and unbox this one. Alright. Well, the top looks okay. Tie in. Plugs. Propane hose. One of the plugs that's missing is the 50 amp one, of course. I don't see a 50 amp. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to have one in there. Anyway, I don't know. I ain't picking that thing up out of it. Cool. Look at that. Huh. So one thing I want to say real quick is when you get this, and the first thing you do is open your book to see what to do. That is not the page you got to go to. You want to go, what's this, page 20. You want to go to page 20 and do this. Remove shipping brace. And in order to do that, put that piece of foam on the ground about 2 lengths away, because you're going to have to roll it. This right here is the shipping bracket. That orange angle iron, you gotta remove those 4 bolts. So I'm gonna go get my socket set. The first time I did this, I did it with the tools they provide. I'm going for speed this time. That's it. That's the shipping bracket. Wheel right there, like that. Two of these are going to be for the handlebars right there. Alright, I got the wheels on, the feet on for the front. Now, one thing I can tell you, if you put these feet on the outside, one of them is going to give you hellfire. It's the one by the battery. And that one's hard to start. Now I'm looking at it, I could have probably started it easier by flipping it over, just getting it close and letting it through and finishing on this side, but I didn't. Now one thing you definitely got to remember is you got to connect the cable to the battery. So I think this is a negative that you got to connect, but a lot of people forget that. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get that all, get the handlebars put on and the battery connected. All right, I had to move into the shop because there's a little bit of a drizzle started coming, not much, but a little bit. I didn't want to be out there with that. I'm gonna go ahead and connect the battery up and go ahead and do that. Okay. So, positive is hooked up. Yeah, put the negative on. That's easy enough. Phillips. Dipstick off. There's some oil residue on there. I'm sure that's from a test start or something. Let me get ready to put some oil in there. Turn the fuel switch to gas. That's the fuel selector switch, so let's see. I guess no, that's storage, that's gas. Okay, there we go. It's on gas, like they say. Turn the battery switch on. Battery switch on. Oh, good, got a light. Turn the idle control off. It's off. Start the generator. Now I'm going to say that there's one more thing they didn't tell me to do that I'm going to check. Let's put the fuel valve on. Let's see. On. And that. I'm thinking you need to do that. So. Alright, so it should just be a matter of pressing buttons and start the generator. Push the start left side main power panel. Press button for 1 second. Release to start generator. 1. for about 35-40 minutes, maybe an hour. I don't know. I haven't paid attention. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it in storage. Well, I'm gonna run it one more time. But what I want to do is I want to tell you something about this fuel selector switch that I just turned on and off. My dad has a XP 13000 EH, and he bought it on my recommendation because of my 10,000 XP 10,000 EH. And the difference in these is, of course, 3,000 watts, but it's also where the fuel selector switch is located and where the propane inlet is located. And my dad had fits with his generator, and he was running on propane, and then it wouldn't run on gasoline, and then it's quit running on propane. And I looked up on YouTube what this problem could be, and it's that switch. It's a known issue. That switch is right there, and I don't know why they had to go and complicate things, but if you see, the propane comes in from over there and the liquid gas comes in from right here, and then you use it as a selector switch, which one you want to go to the carburetor. Well, if you ever have problems and you can't get this thing to start, it's that fuel selector switch. So what you got to do is take this hose right here that goes to the selector switch to the carburetor, pull the gas line off, and then connect this one to the fuel switch right here, the gasoline switch. Bypass this fuel selector switch with liquid gasoline and it'll run. I know that sounds stupid, but that's what we had to do with my dad's, and it ran. Now, he was furious because he still doesn't have power, and we well over 2 weeks away from this storm, and he still doesn't have power, and his generators are everything to him. He's got 2 of them, and he's got a little 5 kW, and then he's got this 13 kW, and this was supposed to be his big bad boy, but he called Duromax up and let them have it. But he calmed down after a while. But let me tell you, Duromax stepped up to the plate, and they hot shipping him one of these, a Duro Star, because they don't have any of the Duromax blue ones out, and they're not any different. From what I understand, they're the same generator, and they hot shipping him one as fast as they can to get it, because they couldn't get that switch. So they sending him a new generator as fast as they can. They stand behind their products. They do. I don't know. I've seen some reviews where they say they're hard to get in touch with. According to my dad, these guys have done everything they can to help him. Now, the people they use to ship their products with, another story. But the people that manufacture these, I ain't got nothing but good things to say about them, and I will recommend them. I highly recommend them. All right, y'all. That's all I got to say. Thank y'all for watching. Bye. Well, of course, one more thing I can't ever stop. I'm gonna see. I'll put the battery on. Let's see if I can do a pull start. Alright, close that. that's the end of this for good. Bye. Okay, I've done a couple different talks about these, but I've had a while to think about how things have worked, what things happened. This was the this is the unit that I used during Hurricane Ida. And my father had the Duromax. He had the XP 13,000 EH, which is the exact same thing as the DS 13,000 EH, except for that the DS is a Durostar and it's red, and the Duromax is the XP one and it's blue. So there's a lot to talk about on these generators. I can tell you right now, if you live in any, well, I mean, it's pretty much any place in the country, you should have at least this size generator for a backup. And I kind of got nervous at one time during Hurricane Ida because I had some fuel issues with my 10,000, and my dad, who also has the 13,000, had some fuel issues too. And I'm gonna kind of tell y'all what that was, because I went on YouTube and found out on the 13,000 that this fuel selector switch, which I should have it to storage right there, that fuel selector switch right there can cause you fits. But I don't even know why they got a fuel selector switch on here, because this one does not and this one does. This unit, you just hook up your propane right here and it goes through and it runs fine. I was running this one just fine on liquid gasoline, no problems. Starts like a charm, runs like a scalded dog, and it just did everything I asked it to do. And I had to have a little learning curve over what I could run. I mean, I could sit there with a calculator and go look at the wattage and the running wattage of every appliance, but I got a general kind of basic understanding. I'm not a genius with it for sure. I mean, I've messed up a few times, but I kind of know what things will be running at and what I should need to turn off, and I figured it out pretty well along the way. But I switched over to running propane, and let me tell you, the thing ran great on propane. Ran wonderful, and I was having a good old time because it ran the central AC with propane, and I was kind of nervous about that. And it ran everything with propane, and I ran a whole bottle of propane through it. That one right there with the hose on. And I said, well, okay, I figured out I can run it on propane. So I switched back over to gasoline. Well, this sucker, it ran for a while, but it started sputtering and and doing all kind of stuff. And then it just got to where it didn't really want to run too great, so I turned it off and gave it a break, and I was like looking around, and so I went a few hours later, started back up, and man, it was hard to start. Very hard to start. And I was like, oh Lord have mercy. This is when I started getting nervous. I was like, this can't happen, because that's my backup. That was my backup at the time, and that one won't start. So as prepared as I am by having generators, the one that I had, and I tested this one and I kept it running, it was nice. And my backup, I hadn't, the last time I started it ran great. It ran wonderful, and it was less, a few months back. I don't know what's going on. I think I have a fuel problem with it. I can take the carburetor apart and figure it out, but that's not the story. So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking around the unit, and then that's when I noticed this oil, and I'm like, oh crap. And anybody that has any mechanical knowledge of a you know, small combustion engines knows oil leaking is bad. And I'm thinking broke a seal, the gasket compromised, the, you know, something, the head gasket or the crankcase is broke, cracked, or something. I don't know, man. I just like, I'm thinking that's oil coming from the engine. So I looked and looked and looked, and the engine is as clean as a whistle. I mean, I can lift this up and show you. It's clean as a whistle, but I don't know if I, yeah, that's, I don't know, I'm not, it's hard lifting with it, but I'll show you. That thing's clean. I mean, they got oil from when I changed the oil on there, but that's not this. I hadn't even changed the oil yet on this, and there's no oil leaking from this motor. Nothing leaking from this motor. All the seals, everything's in place, everything's good. So I started noticing underneath this regulator and around it, you can even see it on it, there's oil, and they had little drips. Look, right there, they even still got it. Look, see? Little drips coming off. There's still that stuff in that regulator. I need to take that. I should take that off. I mean, that's gonna be a pain in the neck, though. So there's oil in the propane. I found that out. You can go do a search on the internet and look up oil and propane, and it's gonna come up with this ethyl mercaptan stuff that's in there. And barbecue pit owners have forums where they discuss how it destroys their regulators. Well, one night on my dad's generator, his was having problems running on gasoline. So he just switched to propane, and he was running out of propane. So I said, I'm gonna bring you some of my propane. I hadn't diagnosed this issue yet. So I brought it over to him, and he ran a full bottle of one of mine, a full cylinder of one of my propane on his. Then his started giving him issues. His generator started giving him problems. And what it turned out to be, since the regulator's in a different spot, I think it's not the lowest point, because that ethyl mercaptan, the oil seems to accumulate in the lowest point, and they actually have capture points where they can capture it on regular household usages of propane. I didn't know this. And what it did is got into that fuel selector switch, I think, and fouled it up, and then he couldn't get his generator running. So I went online on YouTube and started looking up this issue, and they had a guy with a video. I'm gonna try and link it into this video, and he said that Duromax is obviously aware of this problem, and they told that guy to bypass this fuel selector switch right here by taking this gas line and hooking it directly up to the carburetor instead of this right here. Take this off, bypass that, unhook the gas line to the carburetor right here, and and then you'll essentially be able to run straight with liquid gas, and that solved all my dad's problems as far. But now he couldn't run with propane anymore, but now he can run with liquid gas. So that fuel selector switch is a known problem. They know it's a problem. So, but Duromax ended up taking care of him, did all kind of stuff to get him straight. So he was able to run his generator. He didn't lose any power during the storm, and I figured out what was wrong with mine. After I got it started back on gasoline, it's like it burned that stuff out of the out of the carb. And let me tell you, at one time it backfired and blew this air filter cover off of this top hinges. It popped. I mean, it went pow. And I was like, usually you have a backfire come out your muffler and stuff, but this pressure came out of here, out of the air filter, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. But I finally got it started, and I ran it on just gasoline from there on out, and it ran like a, you know, like a screaming banshee. It did great. So look, I'm gonna tell you some things about this now. They will run, and I mean, I'm sure running them on propane would be great, but I strongly recommend you pick a fuel and go with that one and run it. I don't know what to do about that oil, that ethyl mercaptan's coming out of that regulator. If anyone who has any knowledge about this on the internet knows what I'm talking about and knows what to do to prohibit that from happening, let me know, because every prepper knows that propane is supposed to be your go-to backup, keep forever, gonna save you in the end of the world apocalyptic times fuel. And that ain't the case with these, and that could be a problem with other generators too out there. So if people are having problems, think about that. That's what I found out to be the problem. Now let me tell you, power wise, this one had enough juice to do my house for the hurricane. We did try and load test it and run my heater when we first hooked it up, and it would not run. I have 2 heat strips in my house, and it would not even run one of them. But we were running it on a 30 amp cord. We were using a 30 amp cord, and that might have been, I think that might be the problem. I now have a 50 amp cord, and I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna show you the 50 amp cord I just bought. I just bought off of Amazon. So with a 50 amp receptacle. Okay. Right there. And this is a 6 gauge. 6 gauge wire with the 50 amp plugs. So what I was using for the storm, this is an old one my dad had built, and this is one I built over here. I was using these cables, these whips, and these are 30 amp. This is 10 gauge SO, and this is 8 gauge hard wire, solid wire. And this is the one I use for the storm. But I did load test my house with this 10, and it worked. But it's just, you know, you're pushing it using a 10 gauge wire on a 30 amp circuit to push heavy appliances. That's pushing the envelope. You can do it, but you better be careful. This right here just ran it just fine. Nothing ever got hot, nothing even got warm. So I would just put the generator in this greenhouse and run the cord underneath and come up right here to this receptacle that goes straight into my box, and it back feeds into the house. So I was able to run everything I needed to run, but I had to be very selective when things were on. And the time when I had that time when the fuel started getting kind of scary made me think I needed another generator. So I didn't want to lose anything. So while the power was out, I put in a quick order for that 13,000, and I bought it from the same place. I paid a little too much for it. They had a deal where I probably could have got it for probably less than probably $200 less than what I paid for it, because the guy who I bought it from charged shipping, and not shipping, he charged insurance for shipping, and it was like $74. So this was $14.99 and $75 insurance for shipping. Now the thing about that is, most places had it for $14.99. They had all just gotten in they must have had a big load come out, because 2 days prior they were unavailable. And then I put in the email alert for all kind of different places, and I started getting alerts one or 2 days after that they were all loaded. They all had stock. So I went and bought the one I had, and then I started realizing they were offered everywhere, and some places actually had them for $13.99 still, and that you can still get them for $13.99 free shipping. So I could have saved myself $200, so close to $200. But anyway, it is what it is. I got it for less than $1,600. This one, everything included, I got for like $900. That cord with the receptacle in there you saw, that was $230. So all said and done, I'm about $2,700 into this. Those other cords, I paid maybe $50 for all of that stuff. So about, you know, $2,750. That's where I'm into these for. And I'm good with that, because I priced a full house Briggs & Stratton and a full house Generac. And the Generac company wanted to charge me over $20,000 for a 22 kW, and the other company wanted to charge me $12,000 for the Briggs & Stratton 22 kW. So I was like, for less than $3,000, I got 2 generators, the peace of mind to run my whole house. And this one, since it didn't push my heater, which I think it will do with that 50 amp cord, and I'm pretty sure that one will do it with the power. If this one doesn't have the power to do it, this one will. But one thing I did, one thing I got that will help out with that situation, if we ever have a winter storm like in Texas this past year that hit them, I bought these little I bought 3 of these from Amazon, little space heaters. I tested them out and they work fine. I got 3 of those right there, and I got another one somewhere hanging around here, right here. And then we got 2 more of them, or 3 more of them up at the camp. But I just wanted to be able to have something I could put some heat in the house. In the shop, I have that little heater right there, and I'm redoing this whole gear guide wood burning stove. They come with 3-inch pipes. I'm putting 5-inch pipes in this because it'll vent better, and the fire will get hotter. This thing kind of back blows the smoke in here. It's okay, but it does back blow the smoke. And in the house, I got a fireplace, a wood burning fireplace in there, so can do heat a lot of different ways. I'm okay with that if the heater doesn't work, but I'm almost positive it will. So to end the story, if you're gonna get these pretty much big as they make portables, and they weigh the same, so it's the same weight. They have a bigger one of 15,000, but it costs twice as much. It's in the 3,000s how much they cost, for 2,000 more. I don't see why that'd be worth it. It's a V-twin too, I believe. Probably sucks gas up like a hog. I think you would do well to do this. Now, you have to have some electrical basic knowledge, a little bit more than basic, I would say. You have to be careful what you do with them. You have to be smart about how you toggle appliances if you have larger than normal houses. Even with my normal smallish style house, it took me some learning how to toggle the appliances back and forth. And I have a well. I have, my whole house is electric. There's no gas over here. And I have plenty refrigerators and freezers, as you can see out here and there, in the shop, in this house. I push a lot of electronics, and that's the reason I need these things, is because I don't want to lose my food and I don't want to lose comfort. And it's just it's a necessity in the South. I mean, of course, because of hurricanes.